What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 400. 400 episodes. That's crazy to me. It's our big episode. We're giving away a big prize pack on today's very program. Sometime during the show, I will make an announcement about a giveaway word. When you hear that or get that word, get that contest word to us privately, and you'll be entered into the giveaway. You can contact us via our social medias or email, sportscardnationpc@gmail.com. So when you hear that word, get that word into us, enter, and you'll be entered. We're picking one winner via randomizer that's going to win a prize pack of at least $400, including a sealed wax box. So that'll be sometime during the show. Let's talk about this show. Let's thank our sponsors right off the top. SGC, Iron Sports Cards, Sports Collectors Digest, Hobby Hotline, Upper Deck, Card Ladder, and the Certified Trading Card Association. This week, part two, with our great guest, Joe Hollywood, hailing from New York City, like myself. Got to know him a little bit better after talking to him, and really had a great conversation with him. Was learned a lot about him, and likewise, and really glad I had him on. From not really knowing him, much of him, or just hearing about him. We always sort of draw our conclusions about people without really knowing them, right? I'm not saying it's fair or right, but we do that as humans. And I got to know him a little bit better, and really, really down to earth, nice guy, and really appreciated getting to know him. And this will be the second half of that conversation. So hopefully you enjoy it, as I always say, as much as I enjoy doing them. So we'll try to keep this intro as short as we can. And so, with that being said, again, listen for that contest announcement sometime during the episode. And let's start the show, part two, with Joe Hollywood. Now, you worked on Wall Street, and now obviously you're in the hobby in a big way. A lot of people like to compare those two niches, Wall Street to the hobby. As someone who's wore both of those hats, I'll ask you, Joe, like, is that fair to draw comparisons? Not fair? Similarities, differences? Like when you hear that, I'm sure you have. How do you, as someone who's wore both of those hats? How do you feel when you hear that?
I think a lot of people make that comparison because, values of cards go up and down, right? And the first thing that you associate that with is Wall Street. You associate with, things that trade every single day, they go up and down. I will tell you though, the card market, the volatility on some of these cards is just absolute. But with that said, I mean, some of these cards that they're coming out with are just absolutely, and I have to say, Topps has done a very, very good job of making some very high quality product. And one of them that I don't know what you think about it, but I think they did a very good job with. And I will say, I'm also very excited about Topps Chrome update that's coming out for basketball. I think that's, and obviously eventually for football, I think those are going to be just unbelievable product. But taking a look at what they did, the product that really stands out to me is how they really transform that cosmic product. It was that unlicensed product. Obviously, they got the license for it and they came out. And the cosmic product became one of my most popular products that people love, searching for planets, searching for some of the superfractors. We actually pulled a superfractor from Topps Cosmic Basketball, and it was Cooper Flag. So we're really proud about that. And so
Never heard of him.
yeah, I'm sure.
Just
I'm sure. I mean, how popular
I'm
did he
just
become? Popular did that guy be? Think about it. And you know what? The other kid, Con Knipple in Charlotte. I mean, and I got a good friendship with Grant
yeah.
Williams, who plays for the Hornets. I got to tell you, this guy Con, he really. I mean, he set the 3-point record for a rookie. I think this guy really might be the real deal. So I think having a good rookie class. I mean, Dylan Harper, Edgecombe. I mean, from what we saw from the 24 class versus the 25 class, I mean, my God, I mean, it was almost night and day, and I think we need it. I think the hobby needs those really really good classes. Now we're all hoping that this next class, this 26th class, is is just as good, if not maybe even slightly a little bit less, but or slightly even better. You always want to have a good rookie class, and the same thing for football, right? I mean, let's see what happens, especially in Las Vegas now. I mean,
Yep.
the number one pick. They got a strong quarterback that's coming in there, and you know what? They also signed a veteran quarterback to take over. And Kirk Cousins he's no slouch. I know he didn't work out for him in
Yep.
Atlanta, but he brought Minnesota to the playoffs. He made the playoffs when he was with Washington. I mean, the guy's not. I wouldn't say he's a journeyman quarterback. I would say the guy's a quality quarterback, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully, he becomes a good mentor. I would hope to think it's almost like how Kurt Warner came to the New York Giants. Do you remember when Kurt Warner came to the Giants? That he played that one
Yeah.
year. It was the same year that Eli Manning. It was Eli Manning's
Yeah.
draft year. It was '04, and they had him start. I don't know, it was 6 or 8 games. They had him start, and then he was kind of mentoring Eli around along
Yeah.
the way. And then, but the best part about that is, he goes from there and he goes to Arizona. And he goes to Arizona and he goes to a Super Bowl. They almost won that Super Bowl. They probably should have won that Super Bowl.
Yeah. That
But
was
that
the
was against the
Steelers. That
Pittsburgh
was.
Steelers. That's right. That's against the
And we can
Steelers. That's
thank
why I'm bringing it up.
every night I say a thank you to James Harrison. If you remember, ran that touchdown. It's still the longest touchdown return in Super Bowl history. Over 100 yards, caught it like 1 or 2 yards into the end zone. Which had Arizona scored there, that game probably. We're talking about an Arizona and Kurt Warner Super Bowl. Harrison picks it off, and somehow, I mean, he's not a small guy, big linebacker, just rumbles, bumbles, and stumbles the whole way. It looked like he was going to be down at like the 10, and he sort of like, I don't want to say hurdled because he doesn't have that big a high, but everyone, remember, if you've seen the game, he sort of just like sidesteps, half jumps, stays on his feet, almost falls. Teammate sort of helps him, pushes him forward, and somehow gets in the end zone and literally ends the half that way. And like just the momentum swing of that. And they still almost lost. It took a Roethlisberger to Santonio Holmes corner the end zone touchdown to win the game. So the Steelers almost tried to lose that in a few different ways and just were saved by some plays made by some great players. But yeah, and Kurt Warner, some people argue he shouldn't be in the Hall or should. I know me and my son have had that debate. My son doesn't think. But anytime you win a Super Bowl, and I just think when you think of the story, the guy was bagging groceries at a supermarket and then becomes a Super Bowl MVP and a regular season MVP. I think there's something to be said about that. So I know his career wasn't as long as some of these other quarterback legends and Hall of Fame, but he's got hardware. He's got a great backstory, and he's a pretty humble guy too, and of a God-fearing guy. So I think when you put that all together, I get it. My son says, "Well, just look at the stats and take the And I'm like, well, if you do that, but that's really not how it's done. So you can't do it like that. We could do a whole show on that. You mentioned, some Tops product. Again, we grew up around the same time. We grew up where there was other things besides Tops, right? Fleer and Score, and Upper Deck came along in '89. And I'm not going to lie, Joe, I sort of missed those days where you had multiple licenses. As you mentioned, Tops and Fanatics now holds 3 of the 4 major licenses. There even is a low rumor going around that they maybe will try to get the NHL one too at some point, or get it from Upper Deck somehow. Do you? I guess 2-pronged question. One, do you miss not having like multiple choices for products like we used to have? And if not, are you worried? Like my fear always is with Fanatics and Tops having 3 to 4, the less competition, right? There's less drive to perform. Like if you're in a race with 4 or 5 people, you're going to motivate yourself to train hard, to be as fast as you can, using a bad analogy. But when you're sort of the only one in the race, you sort of can rest on your laurels and maybe not work as hard. As someone who saw all those brands and now we don't really have them, how do you weigh in on the current state, the hobby with the license.
Yeah, I remember those brands. A couple that you didn't mention. I remember Donruss, and of
Yep,
course, I
yep,
remember Sportflix. Remember Sportflix?
yep. And when those
Mm,
came out, you remember that was like people were like, "Wow, that's so cool!" Like it was just a whole. And it never really caught on in a big way, but people thought they were cool. I thought they were cool. I probably didn't buy a ton of them. I bought some, but yeah, like you said, obviously Donruss, even some lesser known company try to produce cards. Kind of, what's your take on where we are now with licensing compared to what we sort of grew up with?
Yeah, so I think in regards to competition, I mean, look, I don't think competition would hurt the gamer. However, what I am afraid about is too much competition flooding the market and then devaluing the cards. And that's what we've seen before. That's what happened. And so I think that this is their way of mitigating that. And so for me, if it was another company, if it wasn't Tops, then I'd probably be a little worried. I mean, Panini, look, Panini did a great job with their flawless product, their national interest product, their immaculate product, impeccable products. I mean, look, I was a big fan. I'm a huge fan of Flawless. We rip Flawless nearly every night that I go live. We're opening a Flawless suitcase. It's still today. It's one of my favorite things to open up. I mean, I really every time we open it up, I got a big smile on my face. It's awesome. It's great product, right? And so I think Topps is going to do a great job. I was opening up Dynasty, opening up Baseball Dynasty, and just again, every box we're hoping it's Shohei Otani. But look, we pulled a Aaron Judge out of 5 auto. That's something really special. 101s we're pulling. Even Definitive. I mean, I know I'm not sure how much of Definitive you roll, but Definitive's a great product, and this is all for baseball. And so it leads me to get really excited of okay. Let's see how basketball is. Let's see how football is. Let's see how royalty becomes now that all of these products are now licensed, right? And so I do enjoy the Breakers to Light product. I do enjoy the jumbo hobby product they come. My goodness, I'm looking forward to those super high end boxes because I think that's if we're seeing the good value out of a product like Chrome and other products that brought out. I cannot wait to see how those super high end products do. So we'll see how that works, but. I think if it was another company besides Tops, I would probably have a little bit more anxiousness. But I think Tops is going to do a great job. This isn't their first rodeo. They've been around for a long time. And I think that they do a great job with is understanding that I think they do a very good job of understanding that, hey, this is their moment. And if they do a really poor job, we're in a society that people are going to let them know they're doing a poor job. And I'm not sure that they can afford to do a bad job at this point, right? Especially taking over those licenses from Panini. When they did, they have to do it bigger and better than ever. And so far, they've done a pretty damn good job of doing it. So I'm hoping, I don't know what's going to happen with hockey. I mean, it seems like Upper Deck's going to have that hockey contract for forever. And I know Michael Jordan just resigned with Upper Deck. And I was
Yeah.
wondering to get your thoughts on that. You find that
Well,
surprising?
here's
I mean,
the first thing, and I'll get your response in return. The first thing I thought, Joe, when I saw that, which is it's a cool thing. He's been with him since '91, so a long term relationship that's basically extended. And then the cool thing with them buying those 86, 87 packs, right? Having them sign 23 of them and one of them as a 101 and getting them, authenticated and encased and then put redemption ins. Right? Imagine pulling one of those, or if you're breaking that product, the good one, and
Goodwin
pulling that
champions.
for, yeah, for someone that how I mean that's just cool. That's a cool. He's not a big signer. People who are into autographs know he doesn't do a ton of. I don't even know if he does any signing. If you catch him at a golf course, I know he's not necessarily rude, but he will refuse to sign sometimes in person. He picks his spots, and so he's not a guy that's what we would call a prevalent signer in general. So the opportunity, and that's why the signatures bring what they do. I mean, he's not super old; he's still alive, but he's just not a prevalent signer. So the opportunity to pull something like that. The other thing, but I got off on a little rant. One of the first things I thought, whether it's true or not, Joe, and I'll get your take on this. I thought, well, man, if Upper Deck ever wants to sell to Tops, right? How do you raise your price, right? you make enhancements. It's like when you're selling your house, right? You add, you put on an addition, you put a new deck on, you redo the kitchen with all new appliances and granite, and you make your house. Now the price tag goes up because you put some. That's one of the first things I thought of is like, I don't know if Upper Deck wants to sell to fanatics, but man, even if, whether they do or they don't, I think the price tag just went up because not only would fanatics be buying Upper Deck, and I don't mean this as the way it sounds, but they're sort of buying Michael Jordan too because that would be come with any kind of acquisition of Upper Deck. So I'll get your thoughts. Do you agree, disagree, or how do you see that?
Well, that's a heck of a piece of granite getting Michael Jordan to sign and re-sign with you, right? I mean, that's a nice piece of granite, my friends. I mean, look, here's the thing. I love the loyalty that Michael is showing with Upper Deck. He's been with them for 30 something, and that's incredible. But how cool would it be for Michael Jordan to be next to like pulling an actual Michael Jordan card next to a Steph Curry autograph or somebody else, let's say, or a Victor Wembanyama in the same pack. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that will never experience that on the license side. I'm not sure when his last Bulls license jersey came out. I think card. I'm gonna guess it was 2009 when Upper Deck lost their basketball contract with '09. What a lot of people don't know is 2009 was such a crazy year. Panini got the NBA contract. It was their first year making cards and the final year for Tops and Upper Deck to have the license. So it was almost like a transition year. So you have Upper Deck in '09, Steph Curry rookie year to boot, right? James Harden rookie year. And you have a couple of really good rookies, but the Steph Curry rookie is just unbelievable. Topps making a couple of products. Topps not making Chrome products, but including Chrome cards in their base product, which was super interesting, which made that base product all that much more valuable because they didn't make a lot of it. And then Upper Deck saying, hey, we're not going to make a ton of our products either because it's a transition year. But hey, we're going to make a jumbo product and we're going to build hot cases. Nobody even talks about this, that they build hot cases around that product, that Upper Deck hobby product, where certain boxes, every single pack has a hit. So it's very, very interesting to see the evolution and how it goes. I still get excited ripping open those old boxes and finding those treasures that are in there because my God, there's still some really big treasures out there. We pulled a Michael Jordan autograph about 4 weeks ago out of '04 SPX. And my God, on card with dual patches. And I literally froze the show for like 15, 20 minutes. Like I just couldn't. It was my first time hitting a Michael Jordan autograph online. It was just, it was mesmerizing.
Yeah, cool stuff. It's going to be interesting the next few years, right, Joe? About like transactions in the hobby. You know what happens with Upper Deck. If you ask them, they'll tell you like we're not even going to answer the question because we're not really for sale. That's stuff they have to say, as you know, in the corporate world. But you never know uh, what could be next. And again, I'm not going to lie. Like you said, it would be nice to see a Jordan card come out with a Wemby behind it, right? Which you won't get now with Goodwin Champion and that sort. So we'll
But
see what the future
but you
holds.
can but you can get a numbered Fleer pack out of 23,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's really cool. And I gotta tell, and him signing the actual pack, I mean, that puts you in a dilemma. Then what do you do? Would you try opening it? I mean, it's an expensive pack, but the autograph
No,
itself is, yeah.
I only can speak for myself, Joe. I'm probably keeping that the way it is, and it just I guess I say I wouldn't be greedy, right? It's lucky I pulled the redemption in the first place, and I'll enjoy the sealed pack and the Jordan auto, and if I want a Jordan rookie that bad, I'll just have to buck up and save or whatever you have to do to purchase one, sell another card I own and get that. So, and keep that signed pack. I just, when you think about, we talk about numbers and there's only going to be 23 of them, right? From that product. So, I'm keeping that close now. Eventually, would I sell it? Like you never say never. But probably not right away. I'm definitely going to enjoy that. And whether I leave it to my son or not, I'm obviously talking in hypotheticals that I'll probably never have to worry about. But it'd be a nice problem to decide what to do with that. Should you pull that redemption or have it pulled for you? So
Time for a quick break, but we'll be right back.
Hobby Hotline is the hobby's only live interactive call-in show. Join some of your favorite hobby personalities every Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, to discuss the hottest hobby topics. If you miss us live, catch us after the fact on all major podcast platforms. Follow us on socials at Hobby Hotline.
Thanks for sticking with us. Let's return to the show.
speaking of pulling, you mentioned a couple. Let's talk about you and your Whatnot channel, just what you do. I know you do these 24-hour live streams. I get tired just saying that, but just talk, just just talk about everything you do there and sort of where your channel's started and where it is. And
Yeah, sure. So right now we stream live on Whatnot, and my Friday night show lasts 36 hours straight with no breaks. It lasts Friday night and it goes into Sunday morning, and it really was, just to cut to the chase. More people demanded the show go longer. So when this show started, it started literally as a one-man opera, well, actually a two-man operation, me and my son, and then a one-man operation because he couldn't stay up that long with me anymore. He used to fall asleep, and the show would end when my battery would die, and it went to all these crazy locations in my house till we finally dedicated a room for us to to build the channel up, and slowly but surely we saw our viewership rise, and just absolutely blessed. I mean, God really did bless us, just the best community, and we had this meteoric rise. And now, where when we first got started, we'd have a couple of people in the room. Now we don't have thousands of people in the room in the first few seconds, and there's something wrong. So we've been incredibly blessed for that, and now we love searching for the hardest and the biggest treasures in the hobby. That's what we do. I go live Tuesday nights into Wednesday, and Friday nights that go all the way into Sunday. So no matter where you are, internationally, domestically, you're working nights, you work mornings, you're working graveyard shifts, you're always going to have an opportunity to turn us on and to go for some of just the most recognizable names, whether it's hunting for Kobe autos or Michael Jordan autos or Tom Brady. It'll all be found on my Whatnot show. Simply just download Whatnot and simply look Joe Hollywood. That's it, Joe Hollywood. And I have a second channel called Joe Hollywood Show, which is my staff and my breakers, and they all go on there. They all have their separate shows. But when I go live, it's always me. I never have anybody else fill for my show. So when you see Joe Hollywood, that means I'm going live. And we are on the precipice of crossing over 500,000 followers, which is one of the top accounts on Whatnot. There's not a single account right now that has 1 million followers on it. So we are the most followed account in sports, and we're very proud about that. And there's not another sports seller that has more followers than us. And we are the most viewed show on Whatnot. And when it comes to sport, I'm really excited about that. It certainly has been an absolute blessing, and looking forward to how we can continue to build and see where it goes from here. But it never gets dull. It seems to me, even in my 40s, it gets more and more exciting each and every single day. And I just wake up happy all the time because I do what I love.
yeah, it's and congrats and kudos there. What do you attest the success from? Like, if someone asks you, well, I am asking you, like, how did that happen, or what is the like? I don't think there's one reason, but like, obviously you're like you said, you're blessed. But what do you think? What do you think it is if you have to point to only one thing or a couple things?
Hard for me to point to the one thing, right? I had to get my faith right. I had to prioritize God. I had to make sure that my family was, getting the love that they deserve from me as well. But the one thing that I can tell you, that once you get those things down, one of the things that I can tell you that we do that I think gets a lot of attention is we just work hard, and you have to work harder than everybody else. And I think that that's a lost art. I think people have, I don't think it's everybody, but I think that right now in where we live and just how it is, I just kind of think like that there's this premonition that people are expectant of success, and that failure is not an option for anything, whether how much you give to something or you don't give to something. People just expect they're going to succeed at anything. It's not the way it works. You have to work really hard to be successful. And we put countless amounts of hours. Just the two shows alone that we do. I mean, I'm going live, 60 hours, 65 hours. That's just streaming time. We're not taking into account, you know, our employees and taking account in getting products and procuring these products, and then being able to, pricing those out and getting the right cards for people, and then putting on a show that's entertaining and exciting. I mean, we don't just put the cards on the table and say, hey, they're going to sell themselves. Like that's a really good way to fail. We believe is that it's got to be fun, it's got to be exciting, it's got to be engaging, and we want to do the best job that we can. We make mistakes all the time. I think if I had to pinpoint one thing out of everything, is that people should expect to fail and be expectant of getting themselves back up and trying, versus failing and saying that they couldn't do it, or being afraid to fail and never trying. That's the biggest problem. I think that if you are somebody that loves something, sports cards, it could be anything. Go into it knowing that yes, you're going to fail at some point or another. Something's not going to go your way, and guess what? That's okay. That is actually a cornerstone of success. The more times you fail, the more likely you are to succeed. We've kind of lost that mentality, and I hate to say that, but we really have. And I really believe that maybe we can start thinking about that. And as more people decide that they want to get into the hobby, that they'd like to be successful in the hobby, just keep that in mind. It's going to be a lot of hard work in the beginning. It's going to be a tremendous amount of hard work. You just have to outwork everybody and make sure that you know that you're going to fail more often than not. Don't let that get the you. Keep your head up.
That's well said, Joe, and I agree with that sentiment. Right? There's nobody. I don't care who you are, even the most successful person in the world. Right? They're not batting 1,000. No one bats 1,000. It's never been that way. It's never really going to happen. I don't care who you are. Right? And it's a great point. If you kind of go in with that mentality, like there's going to be down points, there's going to be high points, low points, but whatever. I'm going to just continue to work hard. And if I get knocked down, I'm going to brush myself off and get back up. And it might happen again, and I'll just keep getting up and be harder to knock down. The more times I get up, the knockdowns are going to get fewer as I learn things along the way. So it's a great mindset. I think it's very true, and I think sort of if you can get into that mindset, you'll probably have a better chance at being successful than not. So I concur with that as well. All right. The episode 400 giveaway is unbelievable. Unbelievable. So please DM us at any of our social medias, private message, DM us the contest word, or email us at sportscardnationpc@gmail.com. That's sportscardnationpc@gmail.com, and you will be entered to win the incredible prize pack we put together for this episode. So again, the contest word, unbelievable. Please submit that to us privately via PM, DM, or email, and good luck. So I don't ask this to every guest on every episode, but you got your finger on the pulse of the hobby. Is there a hobby pet peeve? In other words, if you could change one thing, whether it be add something to the hobby or take something out of the hobby that you don't like or it bothers you, like what would you change if you had the power to change one thing?
If I had the power to change one thing, it's not that it's a pet peeve. I would like more people to have accessibility to bigger shows across not only the United States, but across the to collect it. If you're not available for the national that 1 week, or you don't have the means of getting to, I mean, I know it's not always in Chicago, but it feels like it's always in Chicago, right? It was there last year, it's there this year, it's there
It's
next year, right?
yep,
Right, it's been perennially in Chicago, right? But and they do a great job, and they do a great. But I will say, like, as a kid that grew up that had very meager means, I could never afford to the national, right? I was regulated to sports shows that were held in the church basement basis to hold those shows, right? And so
yep.
for
I'm a
me,
veteran of those too. But go ahead.
yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah, those Sunday morning sports card shows right after church, right? Those 11 to 3s, those 12 to 4 sports cards, all about them. And so I guess what I would try to say is I would love for there to be, and I love what Fanatics Fest is doing. I think that's great, and I love that they put one up in New York. They're doing. But I'd love to see one every quarter in a different sector. Like, let the national be the national. But you know what? Let's get a traveling road show for sports cards to go and to be in certain places that people are going to. I don't think it's going to take anything away from the national. I don't think it's going to take anything away from Flex Fest. But I think it's about time that the hobby is big enough that we need more than one big show a year or two big shows to satisfy this hobby. I think we're up to once a month. And you know what? And rightfully so. I mean, this is a hobby that's growing exponentially. People always complain that they don't get a chance to meet the other people besides. The more people that you meet in the hobby, the more you're gonna like. There's a lot of great people inside. I'm not telling you everybody's great. Not everyone is great, but most of the people are. And I think that that's a good thing. The more that you make it mainstream, I think the more that people are going to be attracted to it, and more people we are going to attract.
Yeah, well said. I agree. And I want, you mentioned about bringing more people in the hobby, and I'm sure you'll agree what I'm about to say too, Joe. I want them to stay, right? I'm not looking, it's not up to me anyway, but I'm not looking for someone that, stays a couple years, makes a few bucks, and then says, I'm out. I want the people like us who've been in for the long haul. I think that ultimately shows the strength of the hobby. I think we're seeing more of that as the hobby does get stronger. So I echo that. I'd like to see the hobby grow, but with people who want to be here for the long haul. And there's nothing wrong with making money, but it can't just be that, right? If that's all it is, then chances are someone will leave sooner than later. But if it's more than that, whether it's the nostalgia or just the enjoyment or just being a sports fan and bridging those two worlds, and they're in it for the long haul, that's kind of where what I want to see.
I agree with that. You got to be in it for the long haul. You got to have some kind of passion for it. It can't just be for the
Yep,
money. You got to be passionate about
yep,
what you do. But I think that conveys. I think that the people that are in it just for the money, I think that people see that. I think that that's pretty transparent. I
yep,
think that the people that are passionate about this are always the people that are going to.
yep. No doubt. Well, Joe, you're a busy guy. I don't know when you sleep, doing all those long live streams, but I appreciate you making some time for us here on Sports Card Nation. We'll have to do it again. I look forward to meeting you here at the National. I always give the guests sort of final word, give out like your whatnot stuff, anything you want to share to direct people where to check out what you're doing. Take your time and let people know.
Well, it was great to be here, John. I really had a blast. I hope that we can do this again. I think we just scratched the surface about what you and I can talk about and speak about when it comes to cards. But if you'd
Yeah,
like to follow
we could
me,
I was gonna say we could do a sports show too at that point, but
yeah,
yeah,
we
go ahead.
probably
So
could. Absolutely, we could. And just the New York stories alone could probably fill a year's worth of time. But
yeah,
if you'd like to find me and find my community, which happens to be the most generous community, engaging community in all of sports, come find me on Whatnot. Come look up, just download the Whatnot app and type in Joe Hollywood, and I'll come right up. And if you want to find me on Instagram, which we are on Instagram, type in the real Joe Hollywood. Pretty simple. The real Joe Hollywood on Instagram. I do have a page on Facebook under Joe Hollywood, but real Joe Hollywood on Instagram, Joe Hollywood on Whatnot. and look forward to seeing all of you there and being a part of the community and getting involved with some of the biggest iconic chases. Whether it's baseball, basketball, football, hockey, even soccer. We're making it accessible for every passionate sports fan, even WWE, and that's something really exciting. We'll be at Fanatics Fest. We will be at the National, and then the weekend of the National, the last weekend of the National, SummerSlam is happening, and believe it or not, we'll be up there as well. So we're going to be multitasking. We're going to be doing a lot of things, and we're excited about it. And we're looking to bridge that gap between people that are looking for accessibility to their favorite stars and athletes and connecting them with access.
Well, Joe, you're a busy guy. I don't have to. You know that. I know that. Most people probably know that. I appreciate you squeezing us in, making some time, and like you said, really enjoyed chopping up some New York City stuff, the hobby sports. We probably could have go a lot longer, but and again, you're busy, so we appreciate it. See you here very shortly.
I'll see you soon. God bless. I'll talk with you soon.
All right. Thanks, Joe.
Time for our Hobby is the People Announcer of the Week.
Hello, this is Mark Hoyle, and remember, the hobby is the people.
If you'd like to be the Hobby is the People Announcer of the Week, do a WAV or MP3 file and send it to sportscardnationpc@gmail.com.
Say goodnight, Kane.